It's another beautiful evening. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to Man Up. This is the place for men where we sit down and discuss issues that affect men in this generation and also come up with solutions so that we are not just highlighting the problems, but we are also offering solutions to help our men to grow and thus have a better society. Now, what we want to talk about tonight, I believe, is something that has affected, if not all of us, most of us. We either know a friend, or we have a brother, or maybe it is an uncle, or maybe it is our father, or maybe it is us ourselves. Tonight we want to talk about men and alcohol addiction and look at how this issue is affecting not only the family, but also the society and how it is bringing down men. In studio with us, as always, we have a live studio audience, but we also have guests who will help us gain a deeper understanding of what's happening and where the solutions lie. In studio with me today, I have Dr. Peter Njagi. He is a consultant psychiatrist and an expert on treatment and rehabilitation of persons with substance use and disorders. He's also the founder of Brightside.
Meaning the bright side of life.
Brightside
Rehab Center.
Great.
Yeah, thank
Karibu
you.
sana.
Thank you very much.
Also in studio with us, we have Mr. Benjamin Karanja. Mr. Benjamin Karanja has a story to tell. He's a man who decided to turn his life around for the better, and I bet we will learn from his experience as well. Karibu sana, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Daktari, I've always wondered, because when I think back even to my own life, growing up, of course there was that season where you experiment with alcohol, and me, my body refused completely. And I keep wondering, why is it that some men get addicted to alcohol and some don't? Is there a reason for that?
I think this is a very wide kind of area.
Yeah.
First of all, let me say alcohol is very much available, and it has always been available. It has been become embedded in our culture.
Yeah.
During occasions like when there are wedding negotiations, dowry negotiations, alcohol is part of the commodity which we are supposed to provide. So alcohol is all over the place.
Yeah.
It's part of our culture. Even in the church, they call it communion. It's wine. And
Only
wine
alcohol.
has got some alcohol.
Yes.
So we are talking of something which is around us, which is taken by many people, not just a few people. So in the process, some of them get affected.
Yeah.
I think the key thing is there are substances which are addictive in nature. There are substances which are not addictive.
Okay.
So with alcohol is one of the addictive substances. So anybody can get addicted. It will depend on how much you take, how frequent you take. If you take long enough without adequate breaks, you can get addicted. So maybe we can only look at why some people get addicted and others
don't.
Why do some escape? Let me say they escape at the addiction. Because if you just continue taking in large scale, you become an addict. Happy to form. Addiction is two forms. One of them is the body demanding. The other one is the habit. That every evening or when I leave the work, I pass through a certain place and take some alcohol.
Yeah.
If that habit has formed, you're also addicted psychologically, not physically. Not physically.
Okay.
So it is addictive by nature. Anybody who is going to take alcohol, you are taking a substance which can addict you.
Yeah.
So the key thing is, how do I make sure I don't get addicted?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious, Benjamin, where did your story begin?
Well, my story began, I grew up in a family of five. My father used to drink, and that was my first exposure to alcohol. And my story in drinking is goes hand in hand with my father, because it's the first person who exposed me to alcohol. And he's much the person who helped me defeat alcohol.
Ah.
Because I do believe I did learn that it's addiction I mean, like alcohol is just the symptom. The bottle is just a symptom. There are other underlying issues which are there, which passes from what people call possibly generational curse, and I understand that is a generational pattern. And so my dad did help me to defeat that. And before then, I grew up, and my first drink was it was a church event, and I felt different. But having grown seeing my dad drinking, I used to hate alcohol because of what was accompanied by it. I mean, the violence, the arguments, and all this. And I used to hate that so much. And but then I fell in some friendships of people who are using. As much as I didn't want to drink, it's just like if you continue hanging out in a barber shop, you will end up having a cut. So my friends would leave me outside the bar, and I wouldn't drink. But this time I drank just one shot, and I felt confident. I was able to pursue girls, and I wanted another one and another one. I started drinking occasionally. Until now, things started overwhelming me, and I realized that alcohol could help me escape from that. Until I didn't know my disease was progressing. Until now, I couldn't control it, and my life started rotating around drinking. I would wake up to drink, I would work to drink, I would do everything to drink. I mean, like, drinking was the priority. And that is how I ended up into addiction, and it ended up ugly for me.
Okay. You know, there's something he said that is a story I've heard over and over again, the father factor, that my dad used to drink, or my first drink I was given by my dad, or I was given by my uncle. And since we are talking about alcohol and men, you know, what I'm getting from this picture is that this thing doesn't just happen and affect me. I may pass it on to my children.
Yes, that's very true. Like I said at the beginning, alcohol is addictive.
Yes.
So the key thing is, how do I make sure I don't get addicted? If your father is drinking, and fathers are usually the role models for their children,
Yes.
the boy child. No boy says, I want to be like my mother. They say, I want to be like my father, assuming the father is well integrated and is a hardworking man and is a provider. So the boys grow wanting to be like the father. So if the father is drinking, the boy learns that you have to drink like your dad. So the upbringing factors, how you are brought up, contributes quite a lot. There's a genetic component. And this one has been done, research has been done. 2 children are born here, twins. One is brought in Kenya. The one wants another one in China. Their father was an alcoholic. And we find an increase in alcoholism among those twins. Whether you are in China or in Kenya. And clearly, that's a genetic component because we try to rule out the environmental component. So the genetic component is there. But I will not say the genetic is the main thing. The main thing is upbringing. The experience you go through as you grow up. What you are going through. I heard him speaking clearly. That used to be like confidence. And when he took some alcohol, he got the confidence. So that was the main trigger. For me to have the confidence, I take.
So there's usually a trigger?
Yes, there's always a trigger. There's always something. I think if everything is moving very smoothly, the way we are meant to grow, both in mind, stature, and we go through the stages of adolescence. We overcome that one, we become adults, we get organized in your life. But something goes wrong somewhere. And when something goes wrong, that's the time you end up drinking more than you should. Because naturally we have the ability to know when things are going wrong. And we stop. We think, we have a brain to think. That if you find somebody not utilizing his brain to help himself, something is not correct. Something is not going right. yes, something is off.
Okay.
So like him now, there must be a reason why he was feeling a bit insecure. And this, we need to look at that. Why was he insecure? And how do we make him now feel secure without resorting to alcohol? And if that one is done, that's where counseling comes in. Psychologists come in and they help somebody to be the person he's supposed to be. His ability to face challenges as they come. That one needs to be strengthened.
Okay.
Because challenges always come. There's an old saying that life has got ups and downs. You cannot expect life to be smooth. It is never smooth. It has never been smooth. What is important, when it is down, how do you bring yourself up? There's a learning there, which you are supposed to learn.
Okay.
And where you are not able to bring yourself up, through your own kind of common sense and thoughts, and you are resorting to alcohol, that one will become a habit forming. And then in the end, you'll get addicted.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to rope Mr. Wambugu into this conversation. He's also he's a psychological counselor, trainer of trainers, chairperson, Kenya Counseling and Psychological Counseling, KCPA, Laikipia County. Thank you for also joining us. I'm just curious, was your experience also similar? Was the dad factor also part of your story?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, other than dad, this time is my grandfather.
Granddad.
Granddad.
Yes.
And I remember my first drink. I was barely 9 years. And it was a Muratina. The local brew, basically, as the doctor was saying.
Yes.
And actually, I never thought that it would bring a lot of problems in my life. I thought it was just a joke. But that feeling, that time, made me continue drinking some 33 years to come.
Wow. What was that feeling?
The first feeling was, wow, life is so good. And actually, I wanted even to experience that, even in school. But you see, at times you say, but I don't normally wish that to happen again, because it was it was bad. Life was not as I expected. Yeah.
Okay.
It was so bad.
What would you say, Benjamin, that how did this addiction affect you as a man? Because, you know, we just talk about addiction, but for you as an individual and as a man, you know, somebody's son, probably somebody's husband, somebody's father, when you look at your essence as a man, how would you say this addiction affected you?
Well, addiction did affect me in a lot of areas, like education, relationships, and even career-wise, and in all these things. And one thing that I came to understand, what led to my addiction and to even other things like depression, was because of the way that I was brought up, because my psychiatrist led me to take an ACEs test. And he told me, all this is a culmination of the things that you went through and growing up. I mean, like, I don't know how to make choices. I don't know how to behave a certain way. I don't know how to have boundaries, because possibly of the way I grew up. Maybe my father wasn't there, maybe my mother wasn't there, they were busy with other works. And then it gets to a point where if I'm faced with something like a breakup, maybe in a relationship, maybe at work, if I'm faced by anything, I don't know how to handle it. And then when it overwhelms me, I turn back to alcohol.
Okay.
When these things continue to pile up, I mean these underlying issues, and the way to nurse it, it's to just turn to the bottle. And so that did affect me in a lot of areas. I mean, like, I don't even remember I have a son, but we couldn't keep up with the relationship because I was drinking and abandoning my responsibilities. Remember even the mother of my kid telling me to promise her that when our son realized himself, he couldn't see me drinking. And I made that promise, and I was dedicated to it, but I couldn't help myself. I could be in workplaces, and because I want to fund my drinking. I'll steal things, I'll abscond duties, I'll do all these things. And it ended up messing me. I didn't have boundaries as well with people, so other people will use me. And all those things, they did affect me. I didn't continue with my studies and to a point like maybe I wanted. That also did affect me. And even as well, I crossed paths with people because I couldn't keep a relationship with someone. And I'm a sick person, and so I passed it to them. And that was ugly, so it did affect me in all those areas.
Okay, okay. Dr. Ali, just listening to what the two gentlemen are saying, from your experience, because you handle persons with addictions and substance abuse, how would you say this is affecting the family and also the community at large? Because sometimes we just look at the individual, but we fail to realize the repercussions of this one individual and the state that they are in. How is it affecting their family, the community at large, the nation?
Now, alcoholism, if you are diagnosed or given that kind of label of having an alcohol problem, drinking problem, the alcoholic normally just thinks about how to acquire alcohol and take it and feel what they want to feel.
Yes.
The primacy of drinking is paramount. All the other things are secondary. So your life is, I want to get some alcohol. If I don't have money, let me sell a household item or I steal. If you have a family and you even bought some unga, which is very expensive these days,
Yes.
and you really want to drink, the same unga you can even go to the kitchen and pick it and sell it to a neighbor, and you get money to go and drink. So the primacy of drinking over everything else, the relationship are secondary, paying school fees is secondary, even work is not the most important. What matters is how you get some money, how you purchase the drink, and you take. So this a person who becomes like self-centered, and everything else is not important. So you can see now you cannot maintain a family. Because your responsibility to the family is not the main thing. What you need is to acquire the drug. In other words, an addicted person is not a social person.
So basically, you can't be somebody productive.
You cannot be productive. You cannot. I think it's very important we make sure that those people with alcoholism, they are treated so that they go back to the person they're supposed to be. Yeah.
You know, when I look at the young people today, drinking is so fashionable. I mean, sometimes even in the estates, I see young people, they've parked their cars, they're drinking their life away, loud music and all that. Are we sitting on a volcano from your perspective?
It is a time bomb.
Yeah.
It is a time bomb. It will explode one day. It is an unfortunate scenario. There is that hype, yes. But
they call it eating life with a big spoon.
But it's very unfortunate. And I would wish they get the information.
How do they get the information? What do we do to create awareness?
And one thing, basically through us, through the media.
Yeah.
Now Benjamin can share his story. I can also share my story. Somebody else, those who are in recovery, they can also share their story, because the only difference is that it is at this time they are doing that. But we did that at a certain time.
Yeah.
But the effects are the same.
They're the same.
Are the same. So I would wish, if maybe there are ways, basically these guys, whatever maybe you are doing, can you think about that behavior? Because at the end of the day, they will cry, as I cried and my friend here. Yeah.
Did you also get to a place where you lost your job, you lost relationships? What was the lowest moment for you?
So many things, basically. Missed opportunities in life, our relationships, and also, as Dr. said, you lose focus.
Yeah.
And especially I lost my focus in Form 2.
Form 2?
Actually, I was thinking to become a lawyer, but the focus was not there. I now focused on drugs and ladies.
Okay.
Yeah, that was life that time. And then it continued. And you see, at times there is what we call enabling. Some situations enable a behavior.
Yeah.
Like in school, I was a good footballer. So when we go out for a match and we win, and I go drink, I was not chased away. So I was sinawekwa. So I became a celeb. Can you imagine a celeb?
Wow.
And I think it made me go down there with addiction. So after a few years in addiction, I was finally employed by the Kenya government as a police officer. And you see, nothing changed.
Oh.
I did not stop drinking. And this time around, actually, I had the powers to detain, to arrest, to
That's
release.
a dangerous combination. Yeah.
So, and I continued drinking. I had a wife. Wife disappeared because of my behaviors. And actually, I never thought that it is alcoholism. I'm a drugs. No, I thought it is them, even my family. So my relationship with my parents, it was not good.
Okay.
Yeah. But after working for the Kenya police for 17 years, I was dismissed.
Wow.
So where do I go? Home. Home, I cannot go home. I go to a village there. I became a peddler. I started selling changa. I became a thief.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine.
That is such a, from a policeman to that other end.
You can see the downtrend.
Yeah.
Because addiction does not take you up. It takes you down.
Takes you down. Okay. We'll get into some questions from our live studio audience, and also Dr. will begin to look at, so where do we find help? You know, yes, the problem is there. We've seen how it's affecting men. We've seen how it's affecting families. But are there solutions, or are we doomed to stay in that condition? We'll talk about that shortly. You're watching Man Up. Tonight we are addressing the issue of alcoholism and men. Maybe this is something that you're going through or has affected your family. You have a story to tell. Feel free to get in touch with us. Send us your comments on our SMS line 20316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Kama kawaida, nakupatia dakika moja. Ukimbie jikoni, ukunywe kopo la maji, and then come back, because we need to get into solutions. What must we do? Stay tuned.
On the next episode of This Is My Story, a wounded soul falls prey to cuckoldry.
I had an affair. He confronts me. Exactly the same thing. I denied it.
First affair, mistake, forgive her.
Well, my husband sleeps with me the day he confronts me, but had slept with the guy before that. So now I'm pregnant. I don't know who the father is.
She didn't know the son was mine either.
Who was the baby's father? Be sure to find out on This Is My Story tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Man Up. Tonight we are talking about men and alcohol addiction. We have quite a number of guests in studio. Before we get to some questions from our studio audience, I want to come back to Dr. Peter Njagi. There's something you were mentioning when we were having our kopo la maji during the break.
Yes.
You talked about prevention.
Yes.
Before even solutions, they say prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Before we get to the cures, you had something you wanted to say about prevention.
Yes.
Talk to us.
Yeah, I was saying that because I think somebody who has had the problem has talked of a time bomb. In other words, there's some kind of occurrence or things which are taking place now,
Yeah.
which were not there in the past. And this issue of alcoholism seems to be on the increase, or it is going to be on the increase. And let me say that we need to look back to where we came from, our fathers, our forefathers.
Yeah.
And those forefathers, then some culture, then some traditions, which were embedded to them from their forefathers.
Yeah.
Many generations. And as you were born as a boy, and the boy is expected to behave in a certain manner. So there was the culture, the expectations of the boy. And you are trained. You know you have to grow up, then you have to have a family, you have to have some property, something for you to safeguard you in old age. So the life graph was well spelled out.
Yeah.
And the boy grew knowing what to expect. it appears that cultural background is breaking up.
Yeah.
Because now the young people are not necessarily getting the advice from their parents or their mentors. They are going to the social media. And people have even divided people. Those who gave birth before 1980, they are calling them boomers.
Yes.
They gave birth to many children. But those people and their traditions well spelled out. And in fact, there's a Swahili word, mkosa mila ni mtumwa.
Yeah.
You don't know who you are. You have to follow other people because you don't have your own culture. So those people who are parents, by 1980, they were born in the 50s, some in the 40s, and they knew exactly what to do. And they had those safeguards which helped them to manage their lives.
Yeah.
Those who were born around 1980 upwards, they are now around 40 years, between 30 and 40 years, like our friend here. They got something from their parents. They are told to do this. And then they get other media, social media, internet, which is just talking about good time. We went over the weekend,
Yes.
we did these things.
Yes.
So the people born at that time, they are living and let live. They are trying to enjoy life at that particular time. But they are not thinking of 10 years down the line,
Yeah.
20 years, what will happen? If I grow old, will I have a young man to help me?
To help me.
In places like developed world, when you are old, you go to a home for the elderly.
Yes.
But in our culture, we used to prepare our grandchildren to take care of us when we grow old.
Daktari,
Na siosikia la mkuu, huvujika nini?
Huvujika guu.
Huvujika guu.
Let's get some questions from our studio audience. I believe they have some questions.
My question goes directly to Mr. Kinyanjui. Looking at his story with the family, I am only worried at how the family was able to cope with this condition out of alcoholism and addiction. Imagining at times you will be so hostile to the wife and maybe to the kid. So how did the family help you in your journey of recovery, considering your hostility and at times how dangerous you might have been or might have behaved? Thank you.
Let's have another one and then we'll answer two at the same time.
I am Ndoli Derrick. I have a question for Daktari. So, at this era, the youth as young generations, there is no celebration that is perfect without alcohol. Every celebration, if there is no alcohol, people won't come to your party or anything. So there's also influence. During weekend, people go to have parties, and if you don't join them, maybe you are discriminated, maybe left out of to do some things. So how can we go about that?
Okay.
That thing about handling the family or being violent, as we were talking about like values, and as I talked and said, my story rotates much around my dad, and my dad stopped taking alcohol at around 1999. And I guess that is where his recovery started, and he's seen things in a different perspective. And so being so close to him, I mean, he was sharing as much to me of what had been a mistake to him. And so I continued to take these values, as much as some of them I didn't value them or instill them in myself. And so about being violent, I wasn't violent. Though I was still drinking, I wasn't violent and doing these so much bad things. I was able to control myself. Though at times I would do things which probably are like the same as violence. And it took like tolerance of the other person to tolerate me to that much. But then the bad thing about it is that when I'm sinking, I'm also sinking them. I mean, like I'm passing the sickness to them as well. And that was the bad part. And with alcohol, the bad thing is that also the people who surround me, their story is just like mine. And so if they have unhealthy family relationships, we just find reasons to continue drinking. And so we'll be like, it's not us, we'll play victims. And so which ends up messing even the relationships badly, and also affecting even the kids. Because if probably someone ahead of me, if my father didn't go through this and stand in for me, I couldn't have done that as well, and I could have also passed that to my children. And I was, as I was also saying, I was lucky that my addiction was alcohol, which made people concerned about me. And that led me to seeking help. There are other people who are into other addictions, pornography, sex, and all these bad things. And it's not clear even to other people or to the public. But having an understanding like I do have now, I'm able to take all those values. And I'm glad that I did listen. As much as I was like tolerant, as much as I didn't like value these things or I thought they weren't for me, I took time to sit down and listen to them as much as I ranted them or I thought they couldn't work for my life. I'm at a point where now I see the importance of them. I see them in reality, and I'm able to implement them into my life.
To answer his question,
yes.
About weekends,
yes.
How they go and they must have a drink.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yes.
Playing for young people, having fun, actually is part of growth. Because you have to know when things are okay, when things are bad. I think it is part of growth when you need to have some fun, even if you are age mates. But you cannot just have fun throughout. You really have to organize yourself. We are having a bash. Somebody graduated, isn't it? And there's a bash. And we go and celebrate. There's nothing wrong whatsoever with having some fun, a good time. If you try to stop people from having fun, even the church, if you have a church, these days they have started to bring some kind of gospel music.
Yes.
But the beat, is that one of the secular music? You agree? And you find the young people enjoying themselves. So young people must enjoy themselves. We don't want to stop you from enjoying. You enjoy. But let's make sure that out of this joy, we don't land into other problems.
Yeah.
So that the joy becomes sadness. So everything must be organized. You cannot have a bash every day.
Yeah.
It will not work.
It will not work.
Arrange one day you have a bash. The following day take your books.
Yes.
Go to college.
And you can have a bash
So
without
get
alcohol.
your college, get your education, get your fun at the same time.
Yeah.
But don't concentrate on one line and overlook the other side.
Yeah. And you can have a bash without alcohol. Yeah. Just because everybody seems to be having alcohol doesn't mean that without alcohol there can be no bash. No. I've attended some serious bashes and there was no alcohol in sight. Maybe I'll throw another question your way. Something that Daktari has said that has triggered a thought. He talked about these people they need help, they don't need to be condemned. How do we deal with the stigma associated with being an alcoholic? Because there's a stigma associated with being an alcoholic. Watu wanakuonaga tu uko nje, people discuss you, people say you're worthless. You know, there's all these things we say. How do we deal with that?
Thank you. One thing, and this is very, very important, especially to the family members, and even to the society. Because why do we always see these guys sana sana wako kwa base? It is that condemnation they have been condemned. They have been criticized. They have been compared to by maybe the family members. So I think we need to empower this person who is struggling with addiction by giving information, because maybe what they lack is information. And I remember my scenario is that when I went for rehabilitation, my parents too were involved in my journey for recovery. And I also think my family also contributed to my addiction. In that they are looking at me as somebody amekataa kubadili. amekataa hidi kukataa.
Umekataa. Si uache tu.
Si uache tu, mbona si nani aliwacha? Wewe mbona huwezi wacha? Now sasa, and to me alcoholism was not a problem. It is them. Kuni saa zote kunimulika.
Yeah.
Na vile natia bidii. Na hakuna bidii kwa ilikuwa natia. And it continued. So the essence of that stigmatization made me go drink. But I was saying
more.
that at least is always, let us create some awareness on these guys, even to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because when they are aware that they are dealing, as Dr. has said, that they are dealing with somebody who has issues, maybe they also change the approach. The approach. And it is not even a must somebody to go for rehabilitation. But when the family changes the approach, and they bring this person close to him or her, at least this person will realize, by the way, at least I'm doing harm to myself and to the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, Pastor, let me support you. You talked about people having a party without alcohol.
Yeah.
And they are happy. Now, God is not mean. He gave us pain when we do the wrong things.
Yes.
And He give us ability to enjoy when things are right. Like if you pass an examination or when you are graduating and you are in that gown, you know, you are given the powers to do what pertains to that degree.
Yes.
And if all the relatives have come to witness that, you really have a natural happiness. What you call as happiness when you are drunk, this is not happiness. This is euphoria. You feel high. You feel elevated. But that's not happiness.
And it doesn't
Happiness
last.
is a very natural thing.
Yes.
I have treated many people, and I ask them, you have not finished, you have finished a month without drinking in the rehab.
Yeah.
When are you happier? Now, when you're in the rehab, or when you are drunk? They all say, I am happier now. When I am not drunk. Because my mind is clear, my parents are happy with me, everybody is happy. I also feel good about myself. So what you call as happiness, over the weekend, on a drinking spree, and you take it from a doctor, and you know you don't just go against the doctors. Daktari akikwambia kitu, anakuambia ukweli. That's the medical advice.
Yeah.
That feeling you have with alcohol or weed or any other substances is not happiness. It's a state of mind where you are high. It's not natural. Let's get the natural happiness. Enjoy, dance, sport. I'm telling you, and you'll be so happy.
Yeah.
That is the happiness we want. The natural happiness, not induced state.
Yes.
You are mistaking that for happiness. It's not.
And that
so I would advise you being young people, have your bash. Let there be no alcohol.
Very true.
Let it be alcohol-free.
And even that
and you really enjoy it.
That elevated high, after that you have to crash.
Yes.
Yeah, you always have to crash. This other one you don't crash. You still wake up with some joy. But hii ingine ukishafika huko juu, hajitayarishe kesho asubuhi tutakukota huku chini. You know, unataka kutoa lock.
Yes.
Was there another question before I ask something on rehab?
Maybe to add on that one. The way he talked about exploding and also like the bash without alcohol. The good thing is that when you have alcohol, it feels good, you feel elated, but then the disease is progressing. Like every time you take alcohol, it's progressing until it will reach a point where you can't tame it, and then you're messed. And also about like also the issue of stigma. Like for me, I had to realize it's about me. And all these issues is about what I am programmed to think. People will have expectations about me. And so I had to change the programming. I had to even find healthier ways. If possibly at around the evening, if I used to take alcohol, go hang out in bars, I'll exchange that with going for exercise and doing other healthy things. If I feel some craving, I'll program myself to think the craving, if I have to feel it, that's a craving for water. And all these things do work if I put them into work. And also staying close with people who've defeated it. And also there are also supportive programs which are healthy for this. And they offer suggestions which do work. So with the issue of stigma, also drawing boundaries and just realizing it's about me. And when you take your space, you're able to deal with the guilt and the shame and accept yourself. I'm no longer in denial.
Yeah.
And I don't mind what people expect of me, for as long as I am able to achieve what I decide for myself. And success, as it is said, is the best revenge. I'm in a good place where I appreciate, I've gotten my life back, because alcohol had removed me from my life. And now I've taken my space again and I am in charge. I don't have to be an animal to just react. If I'm hungry, if I'm anything, just where my body leads me.
Yeah.
I have to take charge and be myself and know this is a healthy way of doing this. This is an unhealthy way of doing things. So I am in charge.
Wow, I like that. I am in charge. We'll take one question. There was a question behind there.
Just wanted to ask, is there a right way of taking alcohol? Let me say someone is taking alcohol maybe only on events or with a reason, not every day or every week. Is there a right way of taking alcohol, or alcohol is just bad?
Interesting question. We'll take another one so that be answered too. Yeah.
I have two questions, one to Daktari and one to Benjamin. To Daktari, the question is, what is this that you do just to educate the society on the nature of the alcoholism, just to reduce the stigma among the addicts? And to Benjamin, there's this pressure group, the group that you used to drink with during that time. As you reformed, how do you interact with these people? Because sometimes they may pressure you maybe, or just kupatika mwashawasha fulani usikie you drink. How do you interact with them as a moment?
Dr. You want to begin with the first one? Is there a right way to take alcohol?
Yes, there are two questions there.
Yeah.
And let me start with the stigma. But the stigma per se is based on those people who believe that alcoholism is a lack of morals. You are just being naughty, spiraled, and then they see you like a bad person.
Okay.
But let's look at it like a problem. This person has got a problem. Let's try to understand him. And as soon as you look at it that way, the stigma will not be there. Because alcohol is not like other diseases like TB, HIV, AIDS, which are stigmatized. I think what people don't like about alcoholics is this irresponsible behavior, what they are messing around.
Yeah.
And we cannot just tell you go and mess yourself. It's not a good thing. If something is not good, it's not good.
Yeah.
So if you are an alcoholic and you are messing yourself, definitely people are not happy. And we don't want people to pretend that they are happy with you doing like that. In fact, they should tell you clearly, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that you can also question yourself. So let's try now to make sure that these people are told what we are doing is not good.
Not right.
And that one is helping them out.
Okay.
Rather than just telling them it's okay.
Yeah.
That you have a problem, it's okay. No. I think we have to confront the problem to help those people. As for sensible drinking, this is something even in the books about some people drinking sensibly or social drinking, moderate drinkers, and then the severe drinkers. All those conditions are there. And we know there's some people who are managed to control the alcohol. There are some business executives, the corporates, they have a cocktail, a small drink. The Italians, they used to have one beer. When it's dinner, they just take a beer.
Dinner and one beer.
When they are waiting for the supper to be ready.
Oh.
As soon as the supper is ready, they take their supper and they go home. So we have some communities who have managed to moderate the drinking. And we have found some people who seem to go along quite well.
Yeah.
But there's always a potential of somebody who is a social drinker turning to a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
There's always the risk.
In fact,
I will not say there's the normal way.
Yeah.
But alcohol is a social thing. You cannot tell people not to drink. There are some things, even if you tell them not to drink, you are cheating yourself.
Yeah.
They will drink. I think it is with us. It is part of our life. ours is to try and look for signs of somebody going to the wrong side. And we want them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be us.
Yeah.
It is illegal in this country. People are being licensed to sell alcohol.
Yes.
People are paying taxes to the government from these alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
I think it is with us. This is something with us. All we need to do is to look and see signs of somebody getting to the wrong side.
Okay.
And we want them not to go
get-
beyond
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm not advocating for people to go and drink socially.
Yeah.
Hiyo ni mambo yako.
Yes.
But we'll be very keen to ensure that you don't go beyond.
And no one begins as an addict. Everybody begins as a social drinker.
They
so
start
it's the
as a social
dopamine.
drinker.
Yeah. So if you've seen hii barabara inapelekaga watu huko, why even bother with it? It's not like if you don't get on that road, you will die. You know, so I think the best way to learn is to learn through other people's mistakes, not necessarily your own. Kama kuna wale wanapitiaga tu hapa na wanaenda huko, it's not worth it. Maybe you can answer how you interact with the people you used to drink with, if at all you still interact with them.
Yeah, and maybe before that, to add about like drinking socially, I understand there are different kinds of drinkers. There is someone who can drink normally. They can take it or leave it. And then there is an alcoholic. The moment he starts on the first drink, he can't stop until probably he blacks out or the money is out. And for such a person, that is the kind of drinking that I had. The moment I enter a bar, and I'll drink until the last minute. Maybe I'm out of money or I'm out of myself. And the way out of it is to just abstain from the first drink. Every time I think about drinking, I don't take the first drink. And that is how I have survived to this far. About friends, interacting with them, I had to detach and then draw boundaries. I mean, like, there are those people who I'll be with, and then they'll be like, oh, you got saved. Hey, we'll see. We've just given you a month. We've given you two. And then I just tell them, I don't drink. And then putting a boundary is just like, putting them instantly and then being assertive about it. Like, I don't drink. And if the person wants to take the conversation further, I'm like, I just told you I don't drink. And I don't like the way you're taking that conversation to that direction because that is offending me. And so I like my ways being done this way. There are those people who are also manipulative. I mean, like, they'll just call me and they'll do things or say things that will trigger me. And then I'm assertive. I just don't like the way you manipulate me in this way. I'm just assertive about that. There are other people who I detached and drew boundaries and put out of my life completely because they don't help me. And theirs is to just trigger. Because actually, before getting sober, there were episodes where I relapsed. And I attribute that to friendship because I'll be with people who will do things that will trigger me into that, and I get myself having fallen. One thing that I was praying to God is that if He gives me a sober life, to also give me friends who are beneficial to my life. And I'm grateful because I found that in people who I relate with, people who I identify with, people who are in recovery like me. And they've helped me to grow spiritually, financially, and in all these ways. So I just had to figure out and take an inventory and realize what is this friend to me, what are the benefits and what are these things. And so there are those who I cut off completely. There are those who I took a pause on. Some were just reconnecting when I was strong and just realized that I was strong. Because as well, I did realize that I needed to be strong even for some other things, and I had to take time. And I'm no longer even afraid of saying no. And for whatever means a healthy life for me, that is what I take.
Okay. I think as we conclude this conversation, back to you, Mr. Wambogo. Just
maybe an input on the same.
Okay.
On about friends.
Yeah.
Friends who used to be my friends.
Yes.
During my rehabilitation, we were told that there are people, places, things, and situations. They can all be triggers.
Triggers, yeah.
So, for me to stay those years I've stayed in recovery, I've been able to identify all those that this situation is a trigger to me.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that this is a
trigger.
This person is a trigger to me. And you see, those people have not changed. They have not made a decision to change. The person who has made a decision it is me. So with my program, with my journey of recovery, I know that there are so many triggers, and I know they are there.
Yeah.
And anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So the only thing is basically being vigilant. And you see, we believe that alcoholics have the potential, but due to addiction, that potentiality will get suppressed. But remember, the other people waiting for you to make a decision. Akushike mkono.
Okay.
And that is how the journey has been.
Okay.
Yeah. They are still there, and every there are triggers.
Yeah.
And you see, it is not a matter of proving to them, but then you just use it as kunywagi. Hapana, bado mnakunywaga hizi vitu. Well, you never know.
The question I was going to ask is on the cost of rehabilitation, because that has become a concern, that it's so expensive that sometimes even when you have somebody you want to take for rehabilitation, the costs are too high. How do we solve that problem? Or is it a myth that it's high?
In a way, it is a myth, because a lot of people who drink alcohol, that alcohol is not free. You pay for it. No, you pay for it.
Yes.
And even in these developed worlds, they talk about treatment works. If you spend $1 and you save $2, that is cost effective.
Yeah.
You know, this person actually who is there drinking and not going to the rehab is causing so much damage, even to the family. You have had houses on fire.
Yeah.
You have had people committing suicide.
Yes.
And of course, the cost is too much. So I think it's a question of priorities. Do we invest on taking this guy to the rehab, or do we take him to college? Even college is not free. You pay for it.
It's expensive.
I think let's know alcohol is a very serious condition, and it is even causing death. A lot of people, like even adults now, live around the young people who have been doing it for a long time. Some have been working, like was working as a policeman, so he has got enough money, even to buy the good quality, not the cheap liquors. But alcohol is alcohol. And it reaches a stage, first of all, to affect the liver. If your liver is affected, right now I have some people with stroke. They have had bleeding into their brain, simply because their liver cannot produce the clotting factors. If you get nose bleeding, you can bleed until you die, because your blood cannot clot. So people are getting strokes, people are getting high blood pressure, all because of alcohol. And death is a very, very common thing, because they are drinking, they are not eating, their nutrition status is so low, and you find people dying. So the cost of alcoholism far outweighs the amount you spend getting this person treated. Unfortunately, treatment is expensive. Even in a public hospital, you have to pay.
You have to pay.
That's why we have the universal health care. At least you have this card, and then it can meet the cost of the treatment. And it has actually been extended even to the rehab, that with your NHIF card, you can still be rehabilitated and actually spend nothing directly from your pocket. Unfortunately, the organization is not doing so well. But we are hoping. We are hoping our leaders will work on it, so that we can have a universal health care to include treatment of alcoholism, because it is a disease. I think there's hope. If everybody does his bit well, we should be able to help anybody who needs help.
Very true.
I think that is the bottom line.
Very true.
Yes.
Gentlemen, our time is up.
Yes.
Yeah, my producer is showing me signs and wonders. We need to shut it down. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being a part of this conversation. Mr. Mwanaume, I hope you've had something today that will point you in the right direction. If you are the one who's struggling with alcohol addiction, I hope you've heard from our guest this evening. Help is available. the end of that road is not pretty. So don't keep going in that direction. If you have a family member who's addicted to alcohol, a brother, an uncle, a father, get them the help they need. Like Daktari has said, it is a disease and they cannot help themselves. They need somebody to come around them, and that is the family. You and I come around them, point them in the right direction, give them the right information, get them the help that they need. And also, young men, you can have fun without alcohol. We do it every other day. It is possible. Until next week, when we get into another conversation, do have a great evening and God bless you.